Regardless of your skill level, defense is really challenging in Madden 26. Luckily for you, in this video, I'm breaking down 5 defensive tips that will actually make you better. Whether you want to glitch blitz or you want to know which are the best settings to use, I've got you more than covered in this video, so you're absolutely not going to miss out on anything I have for you. And let's jump right into it. One of the most important things on defense is actually using the right settings before you get into any of the scheme stuff. Let me show you the best settings to use right now. Alright, so I'm going to give you a complete guide to what coaching adjustments to use, alright? So, auto flip defensive play. This makes sure that your slot corner comes out on the same side as the slot receiver. There's really no reason to turn this off. Very rarely would I, only when I want to run a certain blitz. But what you're going to notice is you can flip your play by pressing the right trigger when you turn it off. But again, if you guess wrong, so like this formation doesn't have a slot corner, but if you guess wrong in certain formations, now your whole defense is misaligned because your slot corner is on the opposite side of the slot receiver. So I would just leave it on. EA gets it right for you literally every time. Cornerback matchup balanced. Make sure this is on balance. If you turn it on by height, by speed, by overall, anything, your defense will come out crisscross when they actually no huddle. So make sure this is on balance. And if you're running zone coverage, especially defense motion response disabled. Kind of similar to the last one where you don't want your guys realigning in zone coverage because of a motion by the offense. So making sure this is disabled. I don't really think these next 3 matter too much. They're not that great of settings, but RPO pass key on conservative. This helps your AI defenders focus on pass coverage when defending RPOs so that your user can focus on the run, right? So it's helpful. And then we come into our zone drops. This is what so many people are confused about, fantasize over, honestly, but they have different use cases depending on what you're playing against, right? So if you're going to run, if I'm going to set them and forget them to start a game, default 5 default is how you kind of want them to play. This is going to allow for your cover 3 defenses to play the flats at 5 yards. Your cover 2 defenses, the flats are going to be dropping to about 15 yards. So that's really where you would want to be at. Now, if you want to run match coverage, all default is mandatory. You have to put all of these on default. If you want to defend over the top really well, right, 25 and 5, right, maybe to run a cover 2 double Mabel defense. So there's a lot of different use cases for zone drops. Having your safety depth and close with your width on pinch is going to be really helpful, especially when you're trying to defend people who want to look up the seam. Like really, like if you don't have it on close and pinch, you can give up the seam a lot, and it's very easy to attack the seam. But also understand that if you're playing like franchise specifically or like regs and they have really fast receivers compared to your DBs, like they could lob a pass over the top. Now, luckily for us right here, it looks like Harrison Smith is going to be able to get back there and make a play. So if your safeties are fast enough, right, you can basically defend the seam and over the top at the same time, no worry. But again, if you have a disadvantage speed-wise, you want to make sure you back those guys up to default. But also, this is what I mean when I say cornerback matchups on by speed. They're going to try to realign based on whatever you have it set to. So this is a simulation right here of what it would look like. But let's just say your fastest receiver, their fastest receiver is on the opposite side of your fastest corner. Well, now he's going to basically realign like this, but the problem is his zone is still going to be across the field. So this is what your defense could possibly look like, you know, with the misalignment here. So obviously if they just take the snap, they happen to have a streak on the field, they're going to just have a wide open, easy touchdown simply because your guys are immediately just going to try to go back to their spots and they're going to be lost, right? And so it's like the only way to prevent that is to make sure you have it unbalanced or calling a timeout. But you guys are giving up too many yards, too many timeouts, and giving up too many touchdowns for free simply because you're using the wrong defensive setting. So making sure you have your safeties at the right spot, zone drops depending on the situation, and then make sure that you have those alignment settings first because they're really the most important. Alright, next I want to break down a glitch blitz that no one's really seen before or is using right now, but is super effective. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so we're going to come into Tampa 2 here from 3-4 odd. Like I said, a glitch blitz that no one's really seen before, right? All you want to do is user this linebacker who's in the mid-read Cashman, alright? You're going to take him, probably move him over the line of scrimmage. And also, this is from 3-4, so it's like you just have more linebackers in the field, a little bit different alignment. I know some of you guys play different game modes where your personnel is a little bit different, but this is a blitz that no one's really seen before. So we're going to shift our defensive line to the right. to create that overload, and then we're going to blitz our inside linebacker. So this is going to be a 5-man blitz, and what you're going to notice is we have 4 people standing on the right side. This guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy are all standing on the right side of the offensive line. So we're essentially overload blitzing them off of that side with an off-the-ball A-gap blitz. So what you're going to notice is when they take the snap, they're just going to let that guy come in completely free because they only have 2 guys on that side, and we're rushing 3 people. So we look at the instant replay right here, and obviously, right, when they send 5 out, they're going to be in empty protection. So this is what I mean, where we're only rushing 1 guy off this side. They're blocking 2 guys, so they go to double team, and so then they just, we have 2 guys over here, and then we have a guy occupying the center, and so that allows for our 3rd rusher on that side to come in completely clean, right? And so if they even block their running back, what you're going to notice is it's going to be a lot of the same thing where the running back could step up to block that guy, but it's like, okay, if he steps up to block, he's a running back against a linebacker. I expect my linebacker to run right through him. And another great part about this, you don't have to engage with the offensive line. You don't have to user lock, turbo engage. You don't even have to swoop down. You don't have to do anything. All you really need to do is pass commit. So take the snap. You're going to notice how the running back, that time they blocked their running back, and we still get a guy to come in free because the running back steps up to block the wrong guy. So that's why I say running backs aren't necessarily the greatest answer to actually blocking blitzes in this game, simply because it's sometimes, right here, he kind of had no choice because the center got shedded. So those are situations that you can't even really control on offense. Center gets shedded, he has to pick up the D lineman, and then we just get our guy to come in free. So that was a great example where it's sometimes he can do no right? So we go ahead, set up the same way, pass commit, and this time they're going to be in base protection. So base protection is a little bit different, but really, honestly, we should still be pretty fine right here. Boom, we're just going to take it. That time you see the edge rusher comes in free instead of the inside linebacker, and then the running back has to step up to block him. So really, they have no good answers because it doesn't really matter what pass protection type they use. We still have an advantage over here on this side. We're still rushing 4 against 3, and so the running back becomes the 4th rusher to make it even, but then we just instantly shed him. You see how we just get this instant shed, and then someone else sheds, and we're able to get the quarterback down. So it's you're sending 5 people, which technically you are blitzing them if you're sending more than 4 people, but it's this is an unblockable blitz pretty much. Actually, when you shift your defensive line, it doesn't really matter if they block their running back or not. You're just going to notice how we're just going to be coming in free time and time again against literally every single pass protection type. And like I said, who runs 3-4 odd? So that's one of the best blitzes that you can take here from 3-4 odd into your next game. Alright, so if you're enjoying those first 2 defensive tips here in Madden 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks for you guys every single day, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you want all 5 of these tips, the first 2 I just showed you, and the next 3 in a written form to save on your phone during gameplay, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where you're going to get your first month for only $1. You get premium access to ask me any question in Discord. You also get access to all my written breakdowns for the month of April and beyond. So what are you thinking? It's only $1. Go to the link down below in the pinned comment, join today, and let's jump into those final 3 tips. Which that next one is going to be something that everyone who plays this game struggles with. How do we actually go about stopping empty formations or 5 wide? Let me show you what I mean. Alright, so when we talk about stopping empty formations, there's a couple of things that you can do. If you want to run 4-3, even 6-1, you have more guys over their offensive line than they have blockers. So that's a pretty intimidating look. You could also come into 3-3 cub, and that's what I would honestly do. I would come into nickel 3-3 cub, and I would make sure I have my curl flats on 5 right here, and I would call cover 4 show 2, because I would want to run this defense specifically because now we have 5 guys over their offensive line, which really means if I just shifted my D line, I've talked about this blitz many times, right? Where you run Mike blitz 0, you shift your defensive line, and now you can overload blitz them 4-on-3 on the left side. They can't block that because they have no extra blockers. They don't have a tight end attached to the line. They don't have a running back. But really, that's not even what I'm going to break down. I just want to give them that look every time. That's the thing about empty and a lot of empty players. If you just show them a heavy blitz look, they start to panic. But honestly, right here, the reason why I don't want to run man coverage is because it's man coverage. It just takes one of these guys to get open. So instead, I'm going to run cover 4. The reason I'm going to run cover 4 as well is because you don't want to give up You don't want to give up like seam passes in cover 3, and you don't want to give up sideline throws in cover 2. That's the reason why empty's so hard to defend, is because you can't run cover 3 and you can't run cover 2 versus it. So you're kind of stuck running cover 4 or man coverage. But really what I would do, drop this man into a vert hook just so that the middle of the field's not wide open, and then I'm going to blitz my user because I'm going to D-pad switch stick late in the play. So that's really the setup here. Cover 4 show 2, drop the linebacker out, and we just have them in random empty, and so you're just having to user stuff, and then you're just going to D-pad switch stick to blitz your user late. Now, you certainly want to be sitting on their route. You see how I take away the tight end, and then I D-pad switch stick off. So again, same thing, spread the D-line, drop that man into a zone, pass commit, blitz your user. So it looks something like this now. If you want to, you can put hard flats in the field, right? That would be a good answer, but you're just going to take the snap, and they're just going to call a quarterback draw, and so you're just going to be there to stop whatever play. So again, I have them in random empty. Honestly, a lot of empty players, they don't really know what they're doing. They're kind of just calling random plays. So that's why I say you want to be in more of a safe, conservative defense like cover 4 to take away their whole shots on the sideline, to take away their passes right at the seam. So right here, boom, take it again. We know we have to user all this over here, and so we do a great job of that. So sometimes you don't want to D-pad switch it, but the reason you always want to blitz your user when you're sending 3 is because you want to get better sheds. You see how on this last play right here, we were able to take away everything because we have 8 guys in coverage. But when you blitz your user, you actually allow your guys to shed. Here's a pro trick. If you send 3 in this game, you're going to notice how you're not really going to be able to shed the offensive line with any of your blockers. But because I blitz my user, we basically trick the game into thinking we're sending 4, and so that allows for us to shed. So we go with it again right here, different play, and now I'm taking this away, I D-pad switch, and that allows for that man to come in completely clean. So really defending empty is all about just taking away their quick hitters, taking away their easy seam passes. Having your safety depth on close will help you do that, but then it's like mixing up the looks, right? So if I really wanted to, I could still overload blitz them off of this left side, this time from zone covers though. So still take snap, D-pad, switch it off, and then you see how we're able to get that guy to come in completely clean. So it's all about mixing up your looks. I would run zone coverage versus this personally, but I'm certainly going to mix in blitzing and running more conservative zone defenses against empty formations. All right, and before I jump to those final 2 tips that you're absolutely not going to miss here in Madden 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks every single day. I'm the only one doing that right now. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button, and let's jump to those final 2 tips. Which this next one is going to be a way to disguise your defense by utilizing coverage shells. If the offense doesn't know what you're running, they're going to have a tough time beating your defense. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so you see how when you come into your defensive formation here, pretty much every defense in the game has the ability to change your coverage shell. Alright, so really you're just going to flick the right stick right or left here, and you have a cover 2 shell, a cover 3, a cover 4, and then a default coverage shell. Other formations have like cover 0, cover 2 man, so different formations have like different number of coverage shells here, but really I'm going to give you a couple of my favorite use cases here for coverage shells. Is when you're going to be running a cover 2, or excuse me, a cover 3, but you want to disguise it as a cover 2, because as we know, like cover 3, there's going to be times where like it's a single high safety look, right? Some defense, like this one doesn't, but it's like some defenses, this is what it looks like, just a single high safety. Now they know you're in cover 3, right? And so if they know you're in cover 3, well, now they know that they can just hit you like with this type of route concept right here, where they just have a shriek and a corner, and then they just throw the corner out on the sideline if they didn't have Shadur Sanders, right? So it's like, it's going to be wide open right there on the sideline simply because they read your defense. They know that you're in cover 3, and so they call a good play to be able to beat cover 3. Also, you have this red zone scissor route as well. So they're basically calling cover 3 beater on both sides. But really, when you disguise your coverage, and so we come back here and we disguise our cover 3 as a cover 2 by flicking this right stick until we find the cover 2 shell. Well, now what you're going to notice is when we call this same exact defense, right, and they call, really it doesn't even really matter to play, right? But now they're going to see too high. So now if I'm on offense, I think this is cover 2 because of where the slot corner's position, of where those 2 safeties are, and then the out. This is like a prototypical textbook cover 2 look, but really you're in cover 3. And so obviously against cover 2, this play would honestly be pretty good because they have an S post like to split the middle of the field in a cover 2. right? But when they take the snap, which they're going to notice is you just have a defender dropping all the way back there to knock that pass away simply because he's an inside third from cover 3. So we take a look at the replay, boom, boom. Everything, honestly, on this play is giving cover 2, right? It's giving that this is a cover 2, but when they go to throw the ball, you have a guy dropping in the middle of the field in his inside third to break on this pass and knock it away. So really, that's the first great use case for coverage shows. When you're running a cover 3 defense, you're going to be able to disguise it as a cover 2 and really fool a lot of players, get some more interceptions, get some more knockouts because they think that middle of the field is going to be open from cover 2, but you're really in cover 3. But really, my favorite use case for this is when you actually decide to run any zone defense, but I like cover 2. You're going to run a cover 2, but you're going to disguise it as a cover 0. Now, I can't do it from 3-3 cub. I think I can do it from this formation. So we're going to come here and we're going to disguise our Tampa 2 as a cover 0 shell. All right, and now what you're going to notice is this just looks like on offense, everyone's lined up across on the receiver. Everyone looks like they're in man coverage. And the reason why this is valuable is because now they're going to call a bunch of man-beating routes. So they might put, like, this wouldn't honestly be, I'm going to put a pretty good play out here. Like, this wouldn't be a bad route concept against, man coverage, because all 4 of these routes can beat man coverage. But this isn't a good route concept against cover 2 hard flat, for example, or any cover 2, because what you're going to notice is there's no runoff routes. So there's going to be no routes that can actually get open here simply because you're going to be sitting on their corner route, you're going to be sitting on their crosser, especially if you have a good user over the middle of the field, and then you're going to be able to take away this drag and this curl route away with really the same defender. So essentially, you're just disguising your defense, right? You have a good user over the middle of the field, you user their crosser. Well, now they're screwed. Now they called a play. They're going to be like, oh snap, I called a play that beats man coverage, but he's actually in zone. So we go with it again right here. Take the snap, user this, and now you're going to notice how no one's open simply because they called a bad play. They called a play that can't really beat zone coverage. There's no shrieks to run off the deep zones. I don't know why they would have like a random curl route on the field against zone coverage, right? So that's really a thought process. Disguise your defense as a cover 0 shell, but then you drop into zone coverage. Now, I don't do that too often. I really only save that for critical situations in the game on like 4th down and short to trick them into throwing a quick pass against man coverage, but we're really in zone. So really, those are 2 great use cases for coverage shells, disguising your defense as a cover 0 and as a cover 2 defense. All right, and that last defensive tips I want to break down here for you is the most important one, really, because you have to be able to hold the door at the goal line and not let them score so many touchdowns. Instead, kick field goals. Let me show you the best goal line defense to use right now. All right, so we come into goal line. We're going to scroll until we find the 5-3 formation. So goal line 5-3, and then we're going to flick the right stick to change our packages here until we find the speed package. Essentially, this is going to get your fastest defensive lineman on the field, which is going to allow them to shed blocks a little bit faster here. But what you're going to see is we're going to user this linebacker right here, Wilson. We're going to pinch our defensive line. The reason why is if you leave them spread like this, you just notice how there's a big hole. There's a big hole for them to fall forward to. Now, sometimes Shedeur Sanders or the quarterback will just fall in for an easy touchdown. Sometimes he does get stood up like this. It's kind of 50-50, and so you don't want to have that, right? 50% chance for the offense. If they just call that 4 times, they should probably score at least one of them, right? So really you need to make sure that that percentage is way lower, and the way you're going to do that is pinching your defensive line. Now, you still notice how there's a little hole right here, right? In between the right guard and the center. So I'm just going to come stand right here. I'm going to stand right in that hole as close to the line of scrimmage as possible without getting called for offside. So really, you're just going to get a good feel for it, right? So I feel like I'm in a good spot right here. Take the snap, and you see how my middle linebacker user is going to be the guy to push the quarterback down as soon as he touches the ball. So pinch the defensive line, right? And we're just going to come stand right in between this gap. So boom, and then we just push the ball carrier down, or the quarterback, before he has anywhere to go. It's really the most foolproof way to stop quarterback sneaks. I don't want to say this 100% of the time, but I would say close to 90% of the time, you're just going to be able to push this quarterback down and prevent him from going anywhere. You don't want to allow them to like extend the ball over the top, jump over the goal, anything. As soon as he touches the ball, you're standing in a spot to push him to the ground. Now, what people are going to say is, okay, I would just flip my play, right? And so people are going to do that because they see you standing in this gap. But whatever side the tight end, the outside tight end, number 86 is on, is the side that they're running to. So if they come out like this, you come out with your user standing in this gap. So you really just have to read it. So you see how right here, I'm standing in this gap now, and it's the same thing where the quarterback tries to fall over his other shoulder and we immediately push him down to the ground before he has anywhere to go, right? And so that's just quarterback sneak. There's other goal line runs, right? So if they call like power O, for example, this is gonna shut that down. And the reason it's gonna shut it down is there's gonna be 2 flame icons over the top of your defensive lineman, which means as soon as the quarterback hands that ball off, or sometimes he'll just end up tackling the quarterback, we're gonna be able to get that guy on the ground. So you just don't even have to do anything with your user. Just stand in the same spot, and if they call power O again, you're gonna notice how it's gonna be the same thing where we're able to tackle that guy really before he has anywhere to run. So it's really a foolproof way to stop a whole lot of goal line runs. Even if we call like halfback dive, for example, you're gonna notice how we stand in the same spot and we're just building a wall right there at the goal line where Judkins has basically nowhere to run. So the most foolproof and the best way to stop goal line runs and force them to pass or call RPOs is to get in goal line 5-3 using the speed package and then just simply standing in the right spot with your user to be able to shut it down. Alright, so if you found any of those 5 defensive tips helpful here in Madden 26, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down Madden 26 tips and tricks every single day to help you guys get better on defense, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content I have. But if you want all 5 of these tips in written form to save on your phone during gameplay, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to join Madden University, where your first month's only going to be $1. You also get to ask me any question at any time in Discord, so it's really a no-brainer. But if you want to see 5 offense tips to help you here in Madden 26, check out this video. I'll see you over there. Peace.